In this problem, we want to find the critical value, t sub alpha over 2, needed to construct a confidence interval. So the first part asks us to find that critical value t for a confidence level of 95% and sample size 7. So when we're working with t values, we need to say that the number of degrees of freedom is 1 less than the sample size. So first thing I do is say the degrees of freedom in this case is equal to 6 because the sample size is 7. So now there's two ways to approach this problem. The first is to use the calculator if you have this feature, and it's inverse t. And we get to inverse t by pressing second and vars, just as you would to get to normal CDF or inverse norm. So inverse t, and then we need to figure out for a confidence level of 95%, what is it we're actually looking for? So 95% in the middle. Oops. And that means that we have 5% left over. That's 2.5% in the top and 2.5% in the bottom. And we're looking for this t value. So the percentage that falls below there is the 2.5% in the bottom tail plus the 95% in the middle. So we're going to do 97.5%, or 0.975. And then we give the degrees of freedom for this particular case, because the t distribution, the reason why we're working with this is because it's very sensitive to sample size. So it takes into account the fact that we have a small sample size. So we have to let the calculator know what that sample size is through the degrees of freedom. And when I enter that, I get, let's see, 2.447, and that's rounded to 3 decimal places, which is, I think, yes, that's what they were looking for in the problem, 3 decimal places. So that's one way of approaching this. But everybody who wrote into me asking me about this said, well, I don't have the inverse t function in my calculator. If you have a TI-83, you may or may not have it. So some 83s have it, but you may not have it. And that's when you want to use the table. Now, there's a tables key right here in your homework assignment, so you can just click there and it'll take you right to the table you're looking for. So here's our table, and remember that we're working with 95% confidence interval, and we decided to use, or we calculated that we should use 0.025 for that. So that's the same idea here, right? So we had 2.5% was the area in the top, and that's what we're looking for there. And degrees of freedom, 6. So here in the left-hand column, I find 6 degrees of freedom, and then I just keep looking across till I get to 0.025, and that's my value right there. So, zoom in on that. So 2.447 would be the answer through the table. Now, it's possible on occasion that you get a slightly different answer if you're using the calculator versus the table, but this won't be an issue for us. So that's how you solve those problems.